And here we go. I'm Neverzunner here with a number of the members of the Call of Duty Zombies Forums community. By no means a great number, but these four faithful shall discuss the teaser trailer that Treyarch just dropped today. And I know I speak for all of us when I say this thing gives us the feels, especially myself. This whole log entry, number, date, and the only thing is missing is a diary. So with me, though, you have the TAC, the legendary CODZ archiver. We have Monopoly Mac. I'm not going to give you all a chance to introduce yourself, so TAC, say hello.
Hello.
And we have Monopoly Mac in the far distant... Wait, past? No, go ahead, Mac.
Cheers, mate.
There he is. He actually came through on that one.
You don't understand how close this mic is to my lips.
It's like a 1940s radio announcer.
We talked about this before the podcast. He's just about eating his microphone, so
it's true.
Things a bit worse. And last but certainly not least, we have Matt. A long time CODS member. Go ahead, Matt.
Hello. It's good to be here.
Amen. So, let's jump right into this because I made that introduction plenty long. I'll just go down the list the way I did with the old Intel series that we did back during the time of Gorod Crovey, and just start in the same order that I introduced y'all. I want to hear your thoughts, Tack, on this teaser. Like, what kind of just the first thing that comes to your mind?
I'm not totally sure what to make of the teaser. One of the first things that I looked for right away was all of the examples of August 1945 in the timeline. And the first one that came up was August 1, 1945. The test subjects arrive at the Siberian facility for Richthofen's experiments. And so that seems somewhat timely, given we think Call of the Dead is the final map. But I don't know. I'm still trying to process. So what do you guys think?
Well, real quick, I'm going to interject. I'm trying to listen to this audio, but it's really distant in the background. What is the date on this one again, this teaser?
I think August 28, 1945 is August the 28. Video.
Okay, so we're pretty close. This is in pretty close proximity to the other ones. Nice. Okay, let me move on to Mac then. Mac, what are your initial impressions? What are you thinking?
Us in the community, we've been thinking that the next map's definitely going to be Call of the Dead. This really just solidifies that. Yeah, on to you, Matt.
Hold on. I'm gonna counter Mac. How exactly does this? Do you think that this solidifies that?
Well, as you know, that's a radio from Call of the Dead. On to you, Matt.
So, in a similar manner, the only thing that I got out, because I saw this on mobile, and I didn't even know there was a quote associated with it, because I didn't have the volume on, but I was like, oh, that looks like the Lighthouse from Call of the Dead, right?
Oh, is that what it looks like? I was going to say, I don't know what I'm looking at.
I feel like it's the Lighthouse. You're inside the Lighthouse. I don't know why. Of course, the media could not be played, but that was my guess.
I'm actually watching it right now as you speak, and with that new perspective, I mean, I can't tell if that wall is round. You know what? There does seem to be a curve of the wall. The main wall.
God, those curves.
Love them. Go on out here. Might have to cut that. Go on, Matt. Though, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought it was sort of solidifying. Like, the first thing my thought was, I should go back and either like play Call of the Dead or find some gameplay online, because I feel like that's the Lighthouse room. I feel like I remember those bars. I don't know. I could be wrong.
You're right. I think the room, there's the upstairs, the second floor between the vault where they're locked in the original Call of Dead, and the second floor, there's that gate between the inside of the lighthouse and the little control building or whatever that is, the living quarters.
Yeah.
I'm getting a similar impression. Well, I think a lot of this is just that we've all been fed the idea that it's Call of the Dead, and that's it's a legitimate argument, I guess, either way. But
okay, I've got a question though.
Yeah, go on.
So the thing that I'm trying to figure out about this August 28 date is how much we can really reliably look to other dimensions or other fractures to, to lead us to some sort of idea of what could be.
Were you
going
trying
on
to
here.
ruin this podcast, Tech?
I am trying to give the people what they want, okay?
You can plug your like any thread or something.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
my word.
I've written a book.
Yeah. Dude, this is a freaking. I tell you what, the other dimensions always come in and screw stuff up.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I'm trying to figure because we only have one reference to August 1945 at least in the timeline. So I'm trying to figure out what I can pull from that.
Well, I feel like whatever dimension, I mean, this dimension has to just be like the original dimension, right? I mean, the same dimension that Alpha, Omega, and Classified was in, just kind of like the original. I mean, right?
At this point, I'm not even sure.
That's so hard to know.
Because it could
That's
be like,
kind of what I'm thinking, but I don't know. I really don't know.
yeah, 'cause
Wasn't that dimension annihilated though?
I thought it was 63, right? 63, but
Well, I'm
everything.
talking about the
63 's
end of
original.
Barry.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh no, 63's Origins.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've always sort of interpreted it as like, even though they get destroyed, the cycle always sort of like repeats itself.
Oh,
So it's
Exactly,
like,
that
yeah.
back there again.
so it's like the same timeline that. It's sort of like, what did they say with Chronicles, where it's like, okay, these events, it's in the original timeline, but it's like another cycle, like another loop through it. I don't know. That's the way I try to rationalize it to make sense.
Perfect. We can expect a part 2 then, fans.
that makes sense. I mean, jeez, and who knows? I mean, hopefully we'll get a little more clarity on this now.
If you want clarity, you're in the wrong community.
Call of the Dead always confused me, like how that really tied into, because like I understood like Group 935 was like an international organization, but then like they suddenly have this base in Siberia, and it's like and then it's like post World War II, and it's like, okay, well, during World War II they were affiliated with like Nazi Germany. It's like, do the Soviets not know this exists? Like, I guess there's
That's
time
what I'm
travel.
saying. In what way do you not realize the Germans have control of an outpost in your own country? Like, where is this not coming together?
It always confused me. I mean, the only thing that I thought was maybe it's like near the coast, so I'm like, okay, like, first of all, you could just go with, I guess, they teleported there or something like that. I guess that's sort of the easy way out. But like, I don't know, maybe it's some sort of secret base that like the Nazis and maybe like Japan helped get, because it seems like it was on a coast, right? Like maybe because I just don't understand how they're not aware of this, and I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming this is all going to be explained or something like that.
I feel like the for me at least, I think, despite all the potential contradictions it brings up and all the potential troubles, I feel like maybe 935, and you see this with Operation Stapler, is that 935's history is kind of complicated. Its relationship to the world is kind of complicated in the sense that it is an international organization. And even though Maxis aligned with the Nazis, I mean, maybe it's one of those things that's just extremely bureaucratic, perhaps. And they were able to even, maybe people were in Russia were turning a blind eye. I mean, maybe they weren't aware of these things that were going on there. Maybe there was like a top level, Grof. Graf Gersh. Maybe Gersh was actually still a Russian loyal scientist working on a cover project there at the Siberia base. Meanwhile,
Wait. So I don't understand. What's the contradiction with what's the problem with Call of the Dead being in Siberia during World War II?
It's just that how like there wasn't like a Soviet presence there, or at least, I mean, I guess we don't know.
Just that the Germans had a base inside Russia.
Maybe it was Rad who said maybe there was something special about that location in Siberia that they had to make a base there.
That's why I like to think it was like maybe, Japan and Germany somehow kind of got like a foothold if it's like by the coast. Because if it's like because it can't be near, what is it? Tunguska, right? Because that's like in the middle of Russia. Like that just seems really weird that it would be
they're like definitely geographically far, but for some reason I feel like the game or like the story has tried to connect the two. So, like,
well, there's actually something of a northwest passage above Russia that actually lands quite a ways to the north of Tunguska, but like vertically above on the lateral.
Okay. And on the timeline it says they established a research facility in Siberia near the Tunguska River.
So yeah, I mean, so maybe Call of the Dead was, George Romero's attempt to get as close as possible to the site, like more for the sake of shooting
So that's
on location, quote unquote, but not actually being deep in Russia.
That's what the original IMDb, or that is one interpretation of the original IMDb Call of the Dead description, was that they were shipwrecked on their way to the facility, and so no one ever knew whether that meant that they shipwrecked at it or whether they like shipwrecked like short of it. So that, really, they really could be on their way.
And, as these things go, Tack, I'm going to go ahead and just blow your, your little theory right out of the water there, because I suddenly remember the quote from Richthofen where he says, "It's a good thing we're locked inside this this vault here, because otherwise I wouldn't want it to, trigger their memories."
Right. So...
Get owned, Tack.
Okay, all right.
It's just sad. Like, is he every time?
Okay, so that is the location, then, is what you're saying?
I don't know. Well, can we say that? I mean, like, is it a different location? Was this a port location?
Yeah, because I've always got like a sort of like a bay or coastal kind of, because it's a lighthouse, right? Like, how far in do you have a lighthouse?
Yeah, exactly. And there's like a huge ass ship there, so I don't know. I thought it was
But I never noticed a ship with Call of the Dead. I'm just kidding. Have I been missing out on a whole half of the map?
Oh my goodness! And that brings to mind some inside. Oh, never mind. You know what? That is interesting to me, though. I would be interested to go back and see that the episode from the campaign in which the Nazis are actually deep in Russia. And there's actually that battle in the Siberia area that the Call of the Dead map is based on. In fact, the ship is in that episode.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the whole Nova 6 thing.
Yeah, the Nova 6.
Oh.
That was in a different area, though. That was...
It was a different
the
area.
campaign mission was Project Nova. And that was in Germany. Or that was like coming out of the North Sea. North Sea. I think like out of Germany.
I'll be darned. Who knows, man?
The Call of the Dead radios, when are they dated? Because why do I feel like they're post World War II? Maybe am I making something up? Or they're because isn't it that was one of the things I always got confused on, because that was also the location where like Dempsey and Nikolai and all of them wound up too, right? Because like
yes,
which it always confused me, because I know they're at Durice, and then there's Richthofen, who's now in Siberia.
Okay, I've got them for you. The first one's September 2nd. The second one is September 10.
Yeah, would you know the year?
1945.
Okay, 1945. All right.
So the first one is on the last day of the war.
Gotcha.
That is an interesting time, specifically to do.
Oh man, I remember we talked about this and how weird it is. They don't even mention. He doesn't even mention like the end of the war. I mean, it just feels like, or does it mention the end of the war?
So Operation Stapler. That kind of explains it. I mean,
that's why he's making the radio.
he's still negotiating with the Russians and stuff, and Richthofen like being the kind of the front man for this, for that agreement. I mean, could he have been still hanging out in Siberia, doing these recordings? The war is over. The Russians are busy with taking care of Germany and everything, and the bureaucracy's going, yeah, whatever. Okay, Richthofen, yeah, okay, fine, yeah, okay. So we'll talk about your deal later.
I like that because I still want to believe that the World at War bios are canon, and wasn't there one of the things for Nikolai that even Stalin was like afraid of him? So it's just like just keep Nikolai in the base.
That's right. So go ahead.
Here's this. Okay, so in the teaser it says log entry 1469, August 28. And the first radio in Call of the Dead is log entry 1471, and it's September 2nd. So this is
even before
This is 2 entry logs before the first Call of the Dead radio. So this is original timeline, supposedly, maybe.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering about these log entry numbers. They seem very arbitrary, but that like eases my mind a little bit.
It is. Seemingly connected to those radios.
Oh, wait. No, now that it kind of makes... I mean, I don't know. I guess they were shipped to Siberia. But I guess it makes more sense for them to be in Russia and then to show up in Shinonuma, right? Because this is right before those maps. Right? The occurrence of that,
This is-
right?
Oh yeah, in terms of like event
Yeah,
progression.
because this is between Verrucht and Shinonuma, right? Because Dempsey was at Verrucht. Then I guess they get
But
sent
this
to
is he was at
Well-
Baruch before we were there, though. So like,
He was captured there.
right.
Yeah.
So this is all
Oh.
during the time he was captured, but not while we were playing there.
Oh wait, really? I always thought that the 4 that were sent in during Verrucht were that Dempsey was one of them. Like
Yes.
the players.
Yeah, he was. It's a bit
I think that was
retconned
later.
in terms of the World at War version, but yeah, he is one of the squad members. Like, I guess you could almost write it off as, at this point, I was thinking about this the other day, you could write it off almost as there was a different actor back then.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say, guys?
But then there was, yeah. But to his point, right? Then they went to Shinonuma. I think after this. I think this is before Shino.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's what I was saying. Yeah, like because Dempsey gets captured, I guess gets put to was it Derice, then Siberia, and then I guess Richthofen begins by going to Shinonuma and then back to Derice. Because all this stuff happens like within like a like a couple months, but I guess that's
Yeah.
why teleportation is a thing. It kind of erases the.
Yeah. Right.
I've got to check in with Mac just now. Mac, are you still with us?
Yeah,
What's going on in your head back there?
I'm just taking it all in.
He's back there pondering the next great
You
news.
know what? I was just looking at the timeline because it just got me. I'm like 5 questions behind. But I'm like, why do they have a research facility in Siberia during the war? I mean, it says they established a research facility in Siberia in 1940, October 3rd. So was that before the Soviet non-aggression pact? Or
Yeah. That was during. I think they didn't invade till 41, 42.
Okay, so that was before. But I guess
Okay.
even after that was violated, I guess they just didn't touch that base.
I mean,
So
maybe
it was-
I guess.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I guess you could, maybe easily weigh that like there was maybe they were fighting for control over the base. We just don't see it. I mean, that's like I guess an easy way to kind of tie it into like what happened to it. Maybe I don't know.
I mean,
That's-
they were
that's-
pretty busy on the Western Front. Their Western
Yeah.
Front, the Eastern Front.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess not worrying about a little. I mean, how big is this base really?
Yeah, this base is really skimpy, you know.
It is.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess it could be I guess it could tie into like Richthofen trying to barter with the Russians, maybe like to spare the base because after the Western Theater, didn't they want also Russia to help with Japan by coming in from the north? So maybe it's sort of like a Richthofen was like, oh, just avoid us, and I'll give you some of the secrets or whatever. Just sort of
I mean,
broker.
what time did he betray? What year did he? I mean, I guess it was
'Cause-
1945 when he really began betraying. No. When was Griffin Station built? Because that would have been the first act of betrayal against Maxis. I mean, maybe the
It was
Russians knew
finished
all
in-
along.
Yeah, but I meant
Like
like
42,
sort of
43.
yeah, but I meant like brokering deals with like the United States and the Soviets because at this point, right, the main focus, or I mean, it's definitely done now in '46, but like the most recent would be the Pacific Theater. So I guess like they would have maybe the time to divert some forces to that base, and maybe that's why it's like there wasn't touched because Richthofen's like, look, I'll share my secret. I'll share the secrets of Group 935 with you guys, or something like that.
Yeah,
Or
I don't
even
know.
more so if like he's already.
or maybe they came to the base and they were like, "This is only just a fucking lighthouse," and then Richthofen is like, "I will show you the secrets of this lighthouse if you spare us."
It's just yeah.
It might seem like just a basic lighthouse, but there's so much more.
Guys, I think we've freaking drilled into this. I think that honestly, I feel more confident about it than ever now as to the reasons for this because, I mean, the dates for these kind of things line up. So, I mean, what was that? What was the non-aggression pact y'all were talking about? Explain that a little bit to me, if y'all would. Assume Tack. I think you were the one.
Tack's a historian. Tack, take the wheel.
Okay, I'll let you correct me if you need to, Mac. But I think it was the beginning of World War II when Russia and Germany had a non-aggression pact, and then obviously Germany decided to invade them, and then we get into Stalingrad and Gorod Krovy and in a separate timeline, all of that.
Yeah.
But that was a little bit later. I think that was 41.
Yeah, so
Well-
it says the pact lasts until 1941 when Germany invaded the Soviet Union.
So okay, so let me ask: when did you say the Call of the Dead Siberia base was built?
1940.
1940.
1940. So okay, so let me propose a time limit. I guess we better wrap this up, and I'll go ahead and take the reins, I guess, for this theory proposal. Is that okay? So this non-aggression pact is in place. 935 goes to Russia and says, "Hey, we want this base. We want to do some research out in the severe terrain that is the Siberia area. Can we build this base?" Russia goes, "Yeah, we guess so. Whatever." And so they go build the base. Then the non-aggression pact, is broken. Russia's not really worried about a base for one. For two, they're being, pursued by the Germans to start with. They're getting pushed back initially before they make their counterattack. And their focus just switches. For the most part, it's forgotten. I mean, if you think back to when, for instance, the 115 meteor actually crashed on Earth in 1918, you'll recall that it wasn't investigated for, how, at least recorded, the investigation didn't happen for, 20 years before, he went back to visit the site? So, war can really throw off the progression of politics and things of that sort. So I feel like maybe the Siberia base has just been overlooked until such a time as when Russia finally remembered. By that time, Richthofen had already betrayed Max and was like, look here, I'm not with them. And here's why. And brokered a deal with them. And so all this time, Siberia base has been hanging on by its fingernails by intrigue and timing and betrayal and all that kind of thing. What do y'all think?
Yeah, it seems very much like an informal. The fact that it was never found or spotted during the war makes me think that it was some sort of informal, low level. I don't. That's the only way that I can think of somehow this slipping through.
Yeah, I think the big question is, aside from like Richthofen and keeping the Dempsey and them there, like what actually was the base used for? Like what was its significance? Because if it was just sort of like another like hidey hole for Richthofen, that could also explain why it just fell under the radar. Because like I feel like Russia would be like, this is probably should be something that's like top priority. But if it's just like some backwoods lab that there's really nothing there, and I think you can also say that maybe there was some battle or skirmish or something that happened like close to the site, but they never really,
You know what though? I mean, they did transfer a Russian prisoner of war to that base, Nikolai Belinsky.
That's why I like to think the World at War bios are canon.
Oh yeah, that's very like. It's like, you guys took Nikolai prisoner. Okay, well you keep him, please.
Russia's not necessarily the kind.
Yeah, and I mean that. Yeah, they like to throw bodies in it, so I think that plus they don't like Nikolai. It was just like whatever. Nikolai's going to take one because that's why he was put on the front lines.
He was
right?
one of 20 million.
Oh yeah,
people.
Yeah. Because that was the bio, wasn't it? His wife, one of his wives, had an affair, and he killed them. And even Stalin was afraid of him, so it was like, I'm just going to send you on the front lines to just die with those people. So it really kind of accounts for why they don't care about Nikolai.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this freaking added up to possibly one of the greatest theories I've heard in a while. I didn't even expect it to end up being this way. So let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. We're at a little past 30 minutes. So thanks so much for attending. Once again, I've got Tack. Safe bye, folks.
I have AIDS.
That was a weird way to sign off. Matt, again, thank you for hanging out with us.
Yep.
No problem.
This is Ben from Play the Game signing out. I'm just kidding.
This
is Mac, Monopoly Mac signing out.
You know what? You're probably good because I kind of wonder how many people are going to make it to the end here. If you did, shout out to you. Come join us on the forum. You're clearly a story head and you belong with us. So come hang out. Everybody's welcome. All right, guys. Thanks again. And we'll be wrapping this thing up. Later, folks.
Bye, Dad.